This episode of the Jesse T Show is brought to you by 46 and 2 Wealth Partners. This year, many people have lots of money questions. Finding the right information can be tough, and more importantly, finding someone that you like and have confidence in is even tougher. If you'd like to keep more of your money, and more importantly, if you'd like to stop trading time for money and live the life you deserve, contact 46 and 2 Wealth Partners today. Right now, Jesse T Show listeners will receive a free 15-minute phone call that will leave you with at least one idea on how to keep or make more money. Text promo code Jesse T Show to phone number 202-301-4503. What's going on, Brandon?
Man, living another day on the right side of the dirt.
That's right. You're above 6 feet above it, right? Like you're any day above that is good. So thank you so much for coming on. There's been this nice, beautiful little synergy of us connecting. We were introduced to an amazing friend, Jennifer Chan, who runs, she does a lot of things, and, maybe some of the stuff is top secret, so I won't throw it out there quite yet. But, she connected us, and, she thought it was fit for us to see, how we could add value to one another. So you and I had a great conversation, and, we're both in Atlanta together, so I can't wait to meet you in person. But I want to just talk about, who you are, in terms of your journey's been incredible, and the way that you show up in the world and help people and serve people, is second to none. Like, I actually haven't seen many people doing what you're doing. So I just want to show the world a little bit more about you, Brandon Winfield.
Sure. Yeah, man. It really all started when I was 5 years old. That's where the whole journey started from. I guess my first words being motorbike, and growing up and loving street bike racing, motorcycles, anything of that nature. I was a very competitive person. If we were in the grocery store and you went down one aisle and I was on the other aisle, I'd race you to the end. Even if you didn't know that we were racing, I was racing. So I grew up kind of around that. My best friend around the time, Jake and the Lacey's, the whole family, they grew up racing motocross, and that's kind of where I got my start at. And I wanted to do that, and that was all I knew. I watched film all the time. My favorite person was Jeremy McGrath, and I just wanted to grow up and be just like him and ride for Honda and do what he did. And that's kind of where it all started. And when I turned 10 years old, I really started to pursue that dream. And unfortunately, about 4 years after that, it was cut kind of short. I got hurt in a motocross accident, left me paralyzed from about the chest down. And it was a weird thing because at the time, nobody had really had severe injuries like that. It wasn't something that you really heard of. And then all of a sudden it started to pick up, and I was one of the first people that was paralyzed by a motocross accident racing.
Wow.
And so, yeah, I just had to kind of pick myself up and adjust from there. And I knew that I wanted my life to be normal, and I wanted to hang out with my same friends. And I wasn't going to be down on myself. It was more about, what can we do now? How can I get that adrenaline rush? And how can we have fun? And that's kind of what led me on the path that I'm on now.
So much there. Incredible journey. And to have that perspective to come out of, about 14-ish when this happened.
Yeah.
So 14 years old, still young, still new to the world in a sense, chasing a dream, chasing a passion, and then all of a sudden it comes to a crashing halt, right? And it's so indicative of the human spirit. A lot of times you hear people like yourself. I'll just give you some context when we're going this. So I got a good buddy of mine. He's out in Omaha. He's a real estate investor, author, speaker, super motivational guy. His name's Casanova Brooks. And Casanova Brooks, he's a great dude. He was telling me that he was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer, which is terminal. And then they gave him 2 weeks to live. And his mindset it's incredible. And I want to talk about this. This is kind of why I'm building this part up. But his mindset wasn't, woe is me, or I'm going to die, I'm scared. It was, I have two options. I'm going to beat this, or I'm going to beat this. Like, there was no doubt in his mind that he was going to win. And he did. And then years later, he went through some other really tremendous stuff that he got through. And he just a shining example of the human ability to succeed no matter what. So it sounds like you had that similar mindset where and maybe there were some dark times, we could talk about that, but like, it sounds like kind of right away, you're like, I'm still going to live the best life, and I'm still going to do everything I want to do.
Yeah. Like you said, there definitely were some dark times there for sure. But the major outlook I had on life was I knew the risk of what I was doing. I had broken plenty of bones racing dirt bikes before, and I knew how dangerous it was. And so I didn't blame anybody. I didn't blame myself. I just chalked it up as a freak accident. And how are we just going to go back to having fun, man? Like, I want to be with my friends. I know that when you have a negative energy, negative attitude about you, nobody wants to be around you. It's not fun. And yeah, we just kind of, you take the bad days and you kind of just go, this is it now. And you suck it up, I guess. I don't know. It's a weird thing that you just kind of have to do to get over it and just keep moving on. It's like you said, it's either I'm going to get over it, I'm going to get over it. How your friend and I went about everything, and that's what we chose to do. And I started racing go-karts and riding jet skis and kind of traveling around with friends and started to go on dates and just grew up. And yeah.
Brother, you're inspiring me, man. And I've always thought about this and put this in the back of my mind. Whenever I don't want to do something, I always try to think about someone who is doing a bigger, better job with less capability, whether that's access to resources, whether that's a physical limitation, whether that's a situational thing. It's always, the motivation and inspiration is all around us. And so did you have this beautiful mindset like before the accident where you were just living life, thirsty for life, hungry for life, always, in a good place, like happy? Or was this something that helped to shape that?
I think this honestly helped shape it. My parents always kind of said I had this positive energy about me, and like I kind of had this in me the whole time, and it really helped them get through everything because they had to deal with this too. It wasn't just me that was going through it. They had to go through the emotions too and think about, should they have stopped me from doing this sport a long time ago, and so on and so forth. So
guilt, right? Like almost like a survivor's guilt, so to speak.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. So I think, as every 14, 13, 12-year-old, as you're growing up and you're going through puberty and you're noticing girls and things of that nature, I think school is tough and school is hard on people. And that's for everybody. Like, I was supposedly a part of the popular group, which is just the people that, I guess they're kind of assholes in general. Like, they're the people that make fun of everybody else. They're the popular group. Right. And, you did that just to survive. But also in that group, you got made fun of too. Like, you're a part of everything as well. So I guess I went through teenage angst and anxiety and things of that nature. And then all this kind of really put life into perspective about what's really important and who's really there for you. I lost a lot of friends after this accident happened. There's people, and it's not their fault. They're young. They're not mature yet either, but they don't want to pick up their friend in a wheelchair and help them go upstairs and do things of that nature. And so that kind of made me mature. And I think it kind of built me into the person that I am today. Was going through this really, really hardship, losing my identity as a person because all I knew was racing dirt bikes. And that's all I wanted to do. I'd actually just started being homeschooled for it, which sucks because every kid, when you're going to school, like, you want to be homeschooled. So out for like 2 months, I was homeschooled, and then all of a sudden that got taken away, and like the next semester I was back in school, and I was like, well, damn. So it was just, you go through that, you realize who your friends are, your parents, my support system with my parents and my sisters and my best friends like Jake and some other people that were around during the time. They really helped get me back on track too. If it wasn't for them, if I was trying to do this by myself, it was probably be a lot harder. I don't know if I'd be where I am right now, or if I'd be here in general. I had a lot of people to live for back then, and they made things easier for me for sure.
Was there a time period after, like immediately after the accident, where you were going through like a depression or down and out, or did you have this kind of bright silver lining perspective pretty much right away with some ups and downs along the way?
I think I tried to keep the bright mindset, but really at the forefront of my mind was like the depressing things of, I'm 14 years old. I can't walk anymore. Why was this taken from me? Like, I was really working hard to be something and do something with my life. And I was in a hospital in Nashville. And I just remember these really, really big, heavy set people walking in, like 300, 400 pounds. And I just remember being angry. I was like, why? Like, why me? Like, why me? These people aren't doing anything with their life. And yeah, you get home and you start to lose some friends, and girls don't answer the text messages anymore. They don't want to come meet you where you used to hang out at and do stuff like that. And you kind of go through these dark days of just like, wow, this is really my life. And I definitely went through depression. I didn't know what my future held. I didn't know what I wanted to do anymore. I didn't know where I was going to go in life, what job I was going to work. and it was all like weighing on me quite a bit. And that was the time when people were going out and drinking and hanging out and going to parties. And I ended up in that kind of scene as well. And instead of drinking, because I wasn't really into that, I started doing pills instead. And at the time, it kind of it didn't seem like a big deal. I didn't feel like I was doing anything wrong. Medications like that, opiates, are like over the counter drugs that you can get prescribed and you can take them. And it's not like I'm smoking weed, which I thought at the time was really bad, or drinking alcohol because I'm not 21 yet. So I would take a couple pills and go hang out with people and feel good and like forget about all my problems. And I feel really good. And so, I went through some dark times there where the pills kind of took over for a little bit. And there's times where I didn't want to be here anymore.
Bro, it's insane that medicine, so to speak, it's the drug, but it's so powerful. My life story is, I had a dad that was a 35-year heroin addict, but he cleaned up for like the last 10 years of his life and got to see the better side of life. And I got to see my dad really for the first time. But I went through my own issue for about 2 years, and it started off with OxyContin, which is heroin in a pill.
Yeah.
And it led to heroin for about a year. So what was it for you? Was it like oxycodone? Was it Percocet? Was it Vicodin? And how long were you? How did you get off?
It was pretty much whatever somebody had, it was like, it was never like I don't think I ever got addicted to pills. I don't think I did, but it was just like here and there, if I was going to go to a party, like go out on the weekend or do stuff like that, I knew everybody was going to be drinking, and I could just pay $10 and get 2 Percocet or 2 Vicodin or 2 whatever it was. And I could take that and I wouldn't smell like alcohol. I wouldn't smell like weed when I went home, so on and so forth. And, I did that for maybe 6 months or so, kind of just like the remainder of my freshman year going into sophomore year. And then I remember somebody had Xanax bars, and I didn't really know anything about Xanax bars. And so they gave me 2 of those, and I didn't eat any food. And I remember
for a week.
Yeah. I remember specifically I didn't eat any food, and I tried some of those, and then I just remember it was black, and then I was there, and then it was black again. I was there, and then I woke up in my driveway and black, and I was talking to my parents, and I could tell like I was really not there, and they were like asking me what was wrong and like if I was okay, and I was like, yeah, I'm tired, I'm blah blah blah, and black again. And then I wake up in my bed and I'm just like, that's not good. Like that's not cool. I can't do that. I remember how concerned my mom was. I remember how concerned my dad was. And I was just like, I don't want to do that. That's not good. That is not good at all. And so that was pretty much the end of it for me. That was like, all right, well, we're not doing that anymore. You can't show up like that. You can't be like that.
Beautiful, brother. So you made a change, and through the experience of seeing the darker side of where those paths could lead, you made it a conscious decision to say, I don't want to do this. And so was there a resurgence of spirit from there in terms of like, maybe, I don't know if motivation is the right word, but just kind of refocusing, recentering, and like having a trajectory that you started to follow that was leading you to where you are today?
I don't know if it was back then. I think I was still very lost and confused on where I was going to go back then. I think I just knew that wasn't a good path to go down. I started to meet people that had gone down that path, and they were getting an OxyContin, and they were stealing from their parents, and they're doing crazy stuff. And I was like, this is not the crowd I want to be around. Before, when I was racing motocross, I was very focused. I represented a company. I used to ride for Honda. I used to have all these other sponsors. If I didn't get good grades, we didn't go racing. If I was messing up with my parents or lying or being bad in school, like I didn't go racing. I didn't get to do what I wanted to do. And so I think that's just kind of what I went back to, was we started racing go-karts and doing things of that nature. And I had like another focus and something that I got up for, and something that I wanted to do and get better at. And so that kind of gave me something to work towards there. And then kind of after high school was when the whole idea for iAccess came along. It was shortly after that. And that's really what kind of changed that. Actually, further on down the line, really changed everything to get me where I am now. So
before we jump into that, because we're going to hit that one hard, how are the sponsors after the accident? Do they all just disappear and cut bait, or are they like any stick around and try to support you in some way?
No. So actually, I'm still really good friends with a lot of sponsors. One of them at the time was Roost MX, and they made graphics for your bikes and everything like that, and stickers and whatnot. And I still have their big poster on the wall that they sent me in the hospital. It tells me to stay strong, and they all signed the poster for me and did stuff like that. And they gave me the little number plate stickers, which is like a big thing, so people can like represent you and share that they're trying to like help you out or whatever it is. So they were great. Honda sent me flowers. I still in contact with a lot of people at Honda that were sponsoring me back then, and they helped me out with whatever. Keith Dowdle, Bill Savino, they've been really great to me as well. And kind of all the other ones, they're more motocross oriented, more backed. So there's not much they can do to help me out.
Yeah.
And they're not like it's not like they make like a whole bunch of money either. Motocross is a very small sport. So it's not like they have like these big funds and things that they can give back to or donate to. So we were luckily pretty well off with my dad, his company, and the people that helped him out there. And we're forever grateful for them too. But yeah, everybody has kind of stayed in contact. I still am very well in touch with the industry and go to races at least once a year. So I really appreciate all those people that supported me, especially because I wasn't the best motocross racer out there. I wasn't bringing them a whole bunch of publicity or money, but they supported somebody that they saw worked hard and that was a good person. And they were great people too. So I love all those guys that supported me.
On the human level, they were there for you, which matters the most, right? They were there to show support and love, and that they cared, which is what you need during that time. It helps through the dark times when you know people care about you. You mentioned your dad. So your dad, is he still like a business owner, entrepreneur, and was he the guiding light for you in your journey? Like, did you have an entrepreneurial experience with other people? Talk about that journey a little bit.
So my dad and my mom too, can't leave her out. But my dad was somebody that he definitely wore his heart and emotions on his sleeve. He was a military person. He went to VMI military school. He graduated from there. He got to accomplish his dreams and his goals of flying airplanes. And that was something that he always wanted to do as a kid growing up. And growing up in Petersburg, Virginia, from a not a very well-off family. My grandparents drove buses and they worked in the factory. They worked 2 different jobs and they worked their asses off too to get to where they are. So they set an example for him, and he set this example of me that anything that you put your mind to is possible. Yeah. And he really did that. And he came from the Air Force and he started working as an IT guy. And kind of I've seen him work his way up. And it's funny that you bring him up now because his company just went public today. And they're actually going to be doing, the ringing of the bell at the New York Stock Exchange tomorrow at 9 o'clock.
Very cool.
On CNBC 9:15. Check them out, Paya.
Unfortunately, it's going to be a little bit after that. This is going to come out a few weeks.
Oh, dang. Yeah, that's true. That's true. Like, go back, watch it again. I don't know. Check it out somehow. Paya. They're going public, buy stocks, whatever.
What kind of company? What do they do?
They're fintech, so they do like payment processing things of that nature. A little bit above my head exactly what they do, but they're doing very great. So I seen him kind of start at the bottom of that IT infrastructure and work his way up to a CIO, and now he's really getting to reap the benefits of that. And that's kind of set the example. But as far as entrepreneurial things, no. I mean, there was nobody really started their own company around me. I grew up in Johns Creek, Georgia, so there was a lot of people that had wealth, and I could see success in people that, they worked hard and they focused on things, what you could get from that. Right. So that always set like a good example. But the whole entrepreneurial thing was actually just a side benefit of me getting hurt and figuring out that there was this big underserved community of people about us like going out and going to go have fun. I think the common misconception is we like to stay inside and we don't do anything and we don't go out on dates and we don't go party. We don't go whatever, go to the lake or whatever it may be. And I noticed that, and I wondered why we didn't have this information at our fingertips. Like if I was going to go to a restaurant, I'd go there and sometimes find out that the bathroom wasn't accessible. And then I'd go out myself or whatever it may be. And I'd be on a date and it's embarrassing. So I always wondered why we didn't have like the Yelp of accessibility. And that's where the whole thing started. I was like, I want to develop a mobile app. This was when mobile apps are starting to really take hold, like 2010, 2011. Yep. Mobile apps are popping. Everybody's making their new app and it seems so easy to do. And I just had to do my research and figure out how that happens. I figured out it's a ton of money to get one of those developed. So you have to do a business plan. You have to figure out the wireframes. You have to get investments and what's your future profit, like all this stuff. What are your projections and ROIs and all these crazy things. And it was very daunting. It was a lot, especially for somebody that came from not a big academic background. I could have cared less about school and studying and applying myself at school. I just did enough to get by. but this was something I was passionate about. And that's kind of where I learned about entrepreneurship and started talking to people, and they gave me direction and gave me advice on what I needed to do to get to where I wanted to be. And that was the start of it all for me.
The key word that keeps hitting me in my face as you're talking and I'm listening is bravery. And the first part of that bravery I want to expand on is, even when you're just rolling around and like, even if you're by yourself, like I've experienced this even recently, like, going out to a new place for the first time by yourself and not knowing what to expect. Like that takes a little bit of bravery. It's like, okay, I don't know who's going to be there. I don't know what it's going to be like. So it sounds like you just kind of this maybe innate skill that you had, or just maybe because you adapted to a horrible event in your life, that you started doing things where it would just take bravery, right? Like showing up and dating and all these different things. What was the mindset that you had going into that, where maybe was it difficult to do those things? If it was, and how did you get over it? Or if it wasn't difficult, what was your mindset kind of like going on those new experiences where, normally it would just be scary for most, like anybody doing it?
Yeah, so I've always been somebody that was fiercely independent. You can ask my parents about this. Ever since I was 2 or 3 and could learn how to walk, I would just take off. My dad tells me a funny story about me being at a drag race. So it's like a 3 or 4-year-old. And I didn't like the sounds, and like I wanted to leave. My dad's like, "But buddy, we just got here," so on and so forth. And I was like, "But I'll walk home then." And he was just like, "Go ahead, finally walk home." And so he said he watched me walk down the steps and watched me like walk. This is back, I guess, when things weren't so crazy and kids weren't getting taken
Right
as much as they are now. But he said he kept his eyes on me just in case. But he said he saw me start to walk towards off and like just take off. And he was just like, "All right, well, I got to go get him." And so we left. He showed this like independence and this bravery of like, this is what I wanted to do and I'm leaving. Like, I don't need anybody else to do it, type of thing. And I think that's kind of how I've always been. So just that fact. And then I've always been somewhat introverted and shy, didn't like talking to people as I was growing up. But I realized to get anywhere in life, and I really like girls, always like girls, big fan. I realized you had to not be awkward. You had to start conversations. You had to have a good intellect. You have to be, you just have to be good at speaking.
Well-rounded, man. Yeah, absolutely.
You got to be well-rounded. You can't be scared, and you got to take initiative, and you got to go out. And that's kind of what I did. I went out, I started doing stuff, and it just took that bravery and kind of going out into the unknown and figuring it out, and kind of just trusting in myself that I always knew that I could figure something out. There's always a way to figure things out. And, that usually got me in trouble as a kid. I try to hide some stuff, but
I know you're talking to your people on that one.
yeah, exactly. But I think it helped me out as an adult, just kind of having this stubbornness and this hard-headedness that I'd make it work somehow.
It's amazing that, God, it's a terrible thing that you've, had to go through and then now coming through the other side of it, and you're this amazing, beautiful human being. But can you imagine like this? I don't mean to say it like this, but like everything happens for a reason. Like with your ability and your mindset to be able to be fiercely independent, to, dance to your own tune, you beat your own drum, to have all these kind of conditions and mindset skills that if this happened to somebody else, which it happens, right? Like people get paralyzed, right? But like if it happened to somebody else that didn't have those innate or built skills, the world wouldn't be as impacted as it is, and it's going to be. Like with what you're doing with your gig, and I see you smiling because it's probably resonating, hopefully a little bit. But it's like, if it was someone who wasn't brave or wasn't fiercely independent, like the next levels of like how the world could operate because of your experience wouldn't even exist. So,
yeah, I think the way I see it is a lot of people that go through this. And it's funny because I always had the same question, and everybody always said the same thing, like everything happens for a reason. And it's like, I got that. Like I definitely understood that. I always felt like things happen for a reason too. But for the longest time, it was just like, what is this reason? Like, why, man? Like, I don't get it. I just don't understand. And it was tough, like I said. And it just kind of led me down the path of the people that I got to meet, though. Some of the people that came into my life, the people that have stuck around in my life from the beginning. And it really has happened for the best reason. And I think I'm the right person to be doing what I'm doing as far as developing iAccess Life and this mobile application that allows people to rate, review, and research locations that are accessible. And I'm trying to bridge the gap between regular community and people with disabilities.
Yep.
And I think I do that with my personality and kind of not losing who I was as a person before I got hurt. And that kind of, I guess, paves the way for us essentially. But yeah, that ultimately ended up being my reason. And I fully believe that nowadays. I had such a hard time figuring it out. And now that I kind of had this idea, and it wasn't like I was looking for one, it was just kind of like, all right, I'm tired of struggling when I go places. How can we make things easier for people? Because I know I get around relatively well for somebody in a wheelchair, but I've met so many people that can't do wheelies. Like they can't go up curbs. They can't go across grass. Like they have a really hard time accessing places.
Yeah.
I can see how this could be like really discouraging to some people that are trying to go out and just live their life. And you end up staying at home and then you end up depressed and you're not a part of the community. And it sucks, you know, you feel just cut out. And I was just figuring out, we need to change this. We need to do something about this, but we're going to do it in a fun way. Like we're going to make the shit sexy. It's going to be fun. It's not going to be focused on medical devices or medical equipment or wheelchairs or catheters. It's going to be more well-rounded and be a lifestyle application where we encourage people to go out and go on those dates and then figure out ways that they can go to hotels and travel and see new places and go scuba diving or skydiving and just do fun shit, man, and live your life because it's not over yet. And
bro, you're living more than most able-bodied people.
I am, for sure. There's a lot of people out there that don't get out and live things and like they don't go do stuff. And man, like I look back now and I remember so badly just wanting to be able to walk again. Like I couldn't wait to get back on a dirt bike again. I was like, I just need to walk. Like I need to figure this back out, get on a dirt bike, and I can't wait to be out of a wheelchair. Now I kind of embrace it. Like this is my lifestyle. It's led me to some cool things. It's led me to some amazing people, some great relationships. And it's also helped me figure out what my real purpose in life is. And that's to make people smile and make people happy and spread good energy. Like, and I get to do that with iAccess, and I get to do that by talking to you guys on these shows. And it worked out for the best, man.
Carrying a message of freedom and hope, dude. I mean, that's what you're doing. And you've been picked by whatever, you know, God, fate, happenstance that you were chosen to carry that message. And I think that you're definitely the best ambassador to do it because, like I just mentioned, like there's people that are able-bodied, but they're disabled by their own mind or they're disabled by their own will to not act or to live the life that they want to live. And it's, again, it does take some bravery to do certain things. Like sometimes I grapple with it, like I talked about, like here and there. And I would consider myself an extroverted introvert. Like I definitely like to be around people, but there's times I need to shut off the world and need to just get away. And so for you to be like that kind of that bastion of, I'm going to fucking own my life. I'm going to date. I'm going to go wherever I want to go. I'm going to live it up and I'm going to be at a 10 or like happy when I'm doing those things. It's the perfect synchronicity to bring this freedom forward to people. So the tool in doing that is iAccess Life. Right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Talk about iAccess Life, the inception, the working through it to get it to where it is today. What's that journey been like for you?
Well, man, we'd be here all day if I went through that whole story. So I'll keep it short. I'll keep the cliff notes. Yeah, I was about to say I'll do the cliff notes for you guys. It started pretty much when I was 18 or 19. I actually went to church with my mom. You know, God bless her heart. She always wanted me going to church on Sundays and having that in my life. And that's honestly what led me to where I am today, pretty much. We went to a church service on New Year's Eve, and they were talking about, instead of focusing on what you can do to better your life or what your resolutions are that you'll probably give up on in the first month or so, how can you help your community? And I'd always kind of had this idea of a mobile app. Because I was struggling. I was like, man, I'm tired of going places and not being able to know. Like, I really wish I had a mobile app that would tell me if a place was accessible before I showed up.
Yep.
And that was the whole concept. And then when they brought up the whole community thing, I was on my way to the car, leaving church, hadn't even thought about it. And it was that dumb cartoon light bulb above the head moment where you go and go poof. And it's like, I need to develop a mobile app.
Yep.
And so, like I said, no academic background, really, barely got through high school, did enough to get by, didn't really work in college too much. And I just kind of had this thing where I was like, all right, I'm going to figure out how I'm going to do this and we're going to do it. And I just applied myself to it. I did a lot of research. You can find everything on the internet that you need to find. Luckily, I had some great friends and great connections that taught me a lot and kind of showed me the ropes of starting a business and what I need to do there as far as business plans and building a brand message and things of that nature. And so iAccess started off as a company called Paraperks before that, because me and my girlfriend at the time, when we would go places and a place wasn't accessible, they would help us out and they'd kind of hook it up or do something really cool for us. And so the whole concept was like, you get these perks for being paralyzed, essentially. And so it started from there. You go through your little phases of what the app is going to look like, how it's going to work, what are you going to do with it. We always have the core concept of allowing people to know where to go that it's accessible, so they don't have to worry about that and take that worry out of people's minds and that stress. And it took this shape, and I brought on my co-founder, Saeed Jardian, who's been a godsend. He was friends with my sister in high school, and he saw one of the videos that she had posted about what we were doing, and he said he'd love to help out any way possible. One of the smartest guys I know, one of the most hardest working people I know. I wouldn't be where I am today without him. And we got together and we actually started working with a company that said they were going to develop our application for us. They were going to do all the payments for it for way too much equity. And I'm so glad that this did not work out, because
thank God.
Thank God. They dropped the ball really hard. They told us for months and months that the app was close to being done. It was so close. Got to finish this, finish that. And it just never came. It never came. And one day they finally sent us what they said was the finished application. And I opened it up on my friend's phone. It's supposed to be an Android app, and it was half-assed there. It was barely there. Links didn't work. It just wasn't even fully developed. And I was just like, what the hell is this? And they're like, oh, well, this is just the first version. We're working with the guys, and we're going to send you over the next version in the next couple of hours. And I was like, hey, it's 8 o'clock here. We're working with people in Romania. It's 2 a.m. there right now, 3 a.m. Like, what do you mean? And they go, oh, no, we hired somebody else here in Atlanta to work on it. And I was like, that wasn't the contract that we signed. And we had this whole big blow up, and I really kind of tore into them a little bit. And I'm a really nice guy, but I tore into them. I let them know. I was like, if you guys even think about developing something like this, I'll run you guys into the dirt. Like, nobody's gonna I was really feeling myself. And so I had to go through the whole ups and downs of just like feeling like I was so close, and then just having the rug pulled out from under me. And then me and my girlfriend, we break up at the time, and like I'm emotionally fucking distraught there. And then I realized, like, I haven't been exercising, I haven't been doing anything and working to, make this dream of mine happen. Like, I wasn't putting in the other external work as far as taking care of myself physically, mentally, and spiritually. I was just thinking that this was going to work itself out, and it was going to figure a way out for it to happen, because that's how things had always came to me, kind of just natural.
Yeah.
And so I had to hit the reset button about the time I was 23 or 24. I started reading books. I started listening to podcasts.
Which is still very young, by the way, for any entrepreneur out there, someone looking to create something. 23, 24 is still very young. You see these Silicon Valley people and people that are, Stanford, and they're doing stuff crazy just because they've been afforded these opportunities. But for the most part, most entrepreneurs don't usually start that early.
No. Yeah. So, I was about to say, anything with entrepreneurship, there's no blueprint for it. There's no timeline for it. Everybody goes at a different pace at a different time. And it's so easy to see things on TV, and it seems like they popped up overnight, but there's probably years and years and years of work.
For sure.
And failure.
The 20-year overnight success is what it's called.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, you're right. I've heard that.
Yep.
So I went through all that, went through those hardships, and I figured out I had to fix myself. There was a lot of things I lacked, even in my relationship, that I figured out, and things as a person, and my insecurities, and the fact that I still wasn't okay with myself being in a wheelchair at the time. Yep. And it was just like, oh, okay, I need to work on myself and better myself. And then just from there, everything just started to fall into place. Like, the partnership with the people that are doing our development right now, our early advisors and investors, the people that are part of the company now are all like great people that I've known from a while back, or that my business partner has known. And we've just surrounded ourselves with such great people that it's almost, I don't want to say it's impossible for us to fail, but it's hard. It's hard to bet against it. I wouldn't bet against us right now. And we were able to launch this app in April of 2019. which was one of the craziest things ever. And I don't think it's really sunk in until now that I'm talking to you about it. I couldn't wait. If you've ever had to develop an application and you don't know how to do it and you have to pay for it, like you just can't wait to get those checks and see that in the app store, like see it on your phone. And the fact that that's a reality in itself is, it's like a goal check for me that I can download my own app and see it on a phone and people can use it. And we were able to do that. We have over 4,000 unique locations rated around the world, over 45 states, 30 countries, about 2,500 active users. We've raised $300,000. We're looking to raise another 400 or so thousand to finish off our round. And it's surreal, honestly. It's really cool. And it just came from sticking to it and not giving up on it. There's a lot of things that told me to stop and a lot of things that said this wasn't going to work out. And I just stuck to it. Like I knew deep down what I could do. And once I kind of fixed myself and worked on myself and pulled my own head out of my ass, essentially, and did that, everything else started to fall into place.
You bet on yourself, brother. And you said it now, you wouldn't bet against you because you went all in. You went all in on reinvesting in yourself. That's the best investment you can ever make is in yourself. And then you can pour from a very overflowing cup in the world to other people. So what were some of those books, takeaways, or thought leaders during that time when you were 23, 24, reinventing yourself, channeling back into where you are today? What were some of those like ideas or profound insights that stuck with you?
So the main one, and there's a few books I read, but the main one was The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck.
Fucking love that book.
One of the best books I've ever read. And one of the things I really took away from that book was accepting, like having accountability and responsibility for everything in your life and where you are. A lot of people like to blame external factors for what happened. And if they would have had this, they would have been where that person's at. Or if they would have got this hookup, they would have been there too. And nothing is ever their fault. Those people that's just like, woe is me. I don't know how I ended up in this situation. Stay away from those people. Cut those people out of your life. If they don't have any self-awareness about what's going on and how they ended up where they are, they're the common denominator. Cut those people out of your life. And that's what I kind of had to do with myself, is I had to cut my own self out of my life and cut that ego out, essentially.
Yep.
I thought I was the shit. I thought I was going to make it work. I don't know what I thought, man. I was delusional back then. And I got to read that book and I was like, all right, from here on out, like everything that happens, it's my fault. I was in the wrong place at the wrong time. I shouldn't have been here. I should have been in bed. I should have been doing this. Maybe I could have been working on that.
Yep.
And that's really what has been profound for me, was doing that. And meditation too. Meditation has been really helpful. I guess maybe this as an introvert too, but we're always in our head.
For sure.
It's something so small and so non-circumstantial. We can turn it into something so big. Like we create this own narrative, and that just takes away from what you could be doing positively. Like it affects you, like it wears you down physically, it wears you down mentally. You don't want to work on something. You don't have that same enthusiasm. You maybe miss an opportunity talking to somebody, just all these things. And so meditation really helped me calm my mind and kind of get control over my thoughts again.
What does your meditation practice look like? Because I was just, I'm big into this space and a lot of different things like ego work and spirituality and all these different things. But what is your meditation? Like, do you do it every day? And if not, like when you do it, what does the start to finish look like for you?
For me, it's usually part of my morning routine. I like to have a morning routine Monday through Friday, so I stay focused on what I need to get done. And then maybe, Saturday through Sunday, I slack off a little bit, eat bad, whatever it may be, cut loose a little bit. But my meditation is when I wake up in the morning is usually what I start my day off with. If I'm not stretching or something like that, I'll start my day off with at least 10 to 15 minutes of guided meditation. I created a playlist on YouTube that I have like 20 different meditations on there that range from mindfulness to gratitude to how to start your day off right. Everything's working in your favor, affirmations, all these things of that nature. And it's just a good way to quickly start your day off and just to breathe. And like the mindfulness is a big thing. I think it's so easy for us to get caught up and just like we're looking down and it's like, what I got to do next? What I have to do next? Where am I going next? Who's on Instagram? How am I going to get this girl? Like, we don't just like stop and just take that breath in and just really feel that we're breathing this air. And I know it sounds hippy dippy or whatever.
Bro, I'm the guy that's going to fucking Peru to do ayahuasca to go find God. Like,
that's amazing. I know more people need to do that. More people need to get in touch with themselves and really figure out who they are, but it's scary. It's scary to peel back those layers and go in there. It's a lot easier to stay comfortable with where you are now, even though you're suffering, like even though you're probably miserable what you're doing, but it's familiar.
That's
and
the
it's so
thing.
much harder to step out of that.
Everybody's suffering at some level, and it takes this amount of self-awareness you mentioned, which is a beautiful thing that most people should tap into, and be humble. You have to be humble to have self-awareness, because if you think you're the shit, you don't want to look at your faults. You don't want to look at the negative things in your life. When you're self-aware and you're humble, you know that you're a piece of shit, but not to degrade yourself. But
you can work on it, but you can get better.
Exactly. Like, you're level set, and now you can grow from there. But it's really, the universe is literally punching me in the face right now, because it's been sneakily saying getting back into meditation, because I did it for a long time. When I did, I'm in a very good space now, but I was in probably a stronger space then. And just before we did this podcast, a good buddy of mine, he created his own playlist. He's got brain entrainment tools in there, like there's binaural beats, different things you can do to really kind of tap into the subconscious. Dr. Joe Dispenza, if you've heard of him, he's really amazing at this. But it's you saying it literally an hour ago. A buddy of mine was saying it, and it's been following me for the last couple of weeks. The universe is saying, "Do it. Get back to it."
Here's the thing, and because I know some people hopefully they start meditating after they watch this. Maybe they've had the same thing happening to them, and they see this and like, well, shit, maybe I really need to do it.
Yeah.
Don't get discouraged the first few times you do it. Your brain is not going to want to cooperate with you at all. And you're going to do so bad at meditating when you first start doing it. But it's the repetition of it, and it's the repeating of doing it that gets you there. And, there's no such thing as, I feel like people think once somebody's made it, if they sold their company, they're doing this and that, and they're traveling like that they're happy. But that doesn't necessarily mean that. It's constant work. It's constantly having to work on yourself and change. There's new things that come into your life all the time. There's new self-doubts. There's new whatever it may be, negative stuff. A conversation that you had with a friend that didn't go the way you wanted it to, whatever it may be. An interaction with a complete stranger can completely throw your day off. So it's a constant thing. You're never going to be perfect. You're never going to be there. Nobody's ever going to be completely happy forever. Like, nobody just is happy all the time. So it's just constant work. Yeah. You got to get back into it. And if you take some time off and get back into it.
That's right. And that's how I am. I'm very big on, like I call it baking things into my schedule. So like for me, Mondays are podcast days, marketing and branding days for my business, which is a financial planning company. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday is game day, where I meet with clients or prospects, and I try to help as many people as I can. And Fridays, like admin, financial planning, goal setting, all this stuff. And so you have to bake these things in your schedule, because if you just say, I'll just get to it when I can, you're never going to do it. And the way that I used to do it is like every time after a workout, because I work out, probably at least almost an average of 6 days a week, but fun shit, different shit, like not just the boring, like I do a lot of interesting, fun stuff to keep me, excited. It was always the workout, which was the hard work. And then it was the meditation right afterwards to kind of get my day started, because I baked it into my schedule and it was part of the routine and part of the process. I was on it, but then I stopped doing it after I stopped working out. I stopped doing it for like the last year, because I was really on it for about a year. But it's funny how things come back around and tell you, pay attention to this, because it's the universe speaking to you. So I am getting back into it. But the other piece you brought up was super important. I deal with a lot of people. My business, my calling is being a consultant as a financial advisor, financial planner. And, I know people that have exited companies, and I know people that have built wealth, and I've helped people do those things. And there's always something. There's always that struggle. There's always that suffering, and it's different. It's different. It may not be financial, or it could be financial. It could be relationship. It could be health. It could be, mental, health. It could be spirituality. It could be whatever it is. But as soon as you think you've arrived, as soon as you think that you know it all, either you get passed up or you get left behind. And that's where that humble gratitude, self-awareness comes into play. And from what I've seen in my meditation practices, there was always a gratitude built into there. And it was the things I was grateful for. There was a health built into there. I would go through my mind and, really think of like a blue or a white light. And I would travel to different spots in my body and say, heal this, or talk about this and feel things. And I think that's the big thing, is feeling things. And so I'm just blown away by how I'm literally getting punched in the face right now saying, get back to it.
Yeah, I'm glad you say that, because I feel like in today's society, it's cool now to not feel things, no feelings, like I don't care. blah, blah, blah. But you really do. Everybody deep down inside, you care. You really do.
Everybody
And
does.
I feel like you're making yourself more miserable not feeling those things and approaching them. And it's one of the greatest things that we have as being humans. And what separates us from being animals is that we can feel empathy and we can be apathetic and feel those kind of things and that love and whatever. And it's an amazing thing to be able to feel that. Even heartbreak, like when your heart breaks and you're super sad, it's sometimes it's a weird thing that sometimes I like that feeling. It makes you feel alive, you know?
Yes. Yes.
I feel like a lot more people should tap into that. And I think it would make the world a better place if people showed feelings and really kind of talked about, you know, what was really going on instead of just acting, I don't know, hard and
Putting up a front.
Yeah, it's putting up a front, being disassociated towards everything. And yeah, I agree.
People got to learn to love themselves first, which isn't easy.
That's the biggest one. Yes, love yourself first, man. That's what really changed my life, and that's what I'm working towards right now. And like you said, people, like if you feel like you've arrived and you made it, it's not going to go well. It's really not going to go well. You end up right back down the same rabbit hole path that you were in before.
There's a book that I was recently into. I think it's called Love Yourself Like Your Life Depends on It. And there's a meditation in there, and it's you know, there's a mantra through the day. You have to tell yourself you love yourself. You have to feel it, and there's also a meditation to get there. But you know, that's where it starts for most people. Is they've been given a false story or narrative, a circumstance, an environment they grew up in where they weren't loved or they weren't loved the way they wanted to be, and all these different things. And you know, you just got to do the self work. And for me, the way that's taken shape over the years is you talk about emotions and showing your emotions. For most men growing up, you know, since the beginning of time, most men were told to just be a man, tough it out. Like you're fine. Don't worry about it. That shit doesn't work. And there's a beautiful renaissance going on over the last 10, 20 years where you got these beautiful groups and people that are thought leaders in the space of what it is to be masculine. And for me, I've been doing a lot of my own ego work and a lot of my own self work through therapy and plant medicines and just going down that path. Where something that came to me a while back, I'm a father of 2 young boys, 6 and 4, where, you know, I wanted to show them through, you know, visually when emotions, like you said, sad's not a bad thing if you don't get stuck there, if you don't get depressed, if you don't get thrown off, and embrace it. It has a teaching and there's a medicine in it. And so I went, you know, on a plant medicine journey back in April, and I came back from it with some amazing downloads, very, very profound. Hardest 2 weeks afterwards in my life because I had a lot of work I had to do, and I was crying a lot. And my sons would be watching Disney Plus. It could be like Moana. It could be whatever it was. Lion King, my favorite Disney movie of all time. Great movie. And as soon as something sad happened, I would just, the waterworks would just come flying out. And I would make sure I would grab both of them and I'd say, listen, Daddy's going through a tough time right now. This is why. But just know that it's okay as a man to feel these feelings and to show these emotions. And so I think that was part of my teaching was to be able to share that with them. And being sad is okay, and having emotions is okay. So I think it's important for people to dive into that, and things like meditation and things like the self-work. And so kind of just jumping back to, you know, where you are with this closing out this next round, about $400,000 or $300,000 or so that you need to do. What's after that? Like, what's the vision? Because this is just a step in you showing up and serving the world and leaving the world a better place. Like, what's the vision for what this is going to do?
So when I started this thing, I didn't start it because I wanted to become the next Facebook or MySpace or Twitter. I didn't want to be some big conglomerate. I don't care to be a billionaire or 100 millionaire, anything of that nature. I really started this because I remember being in the hospital at Shepherd Center doing rehabilitation and just meeting a lot of people that didn't have the same luxury that I have of going like, hey, I got hurt doing something I love. I understood the risk, and now let's get back to it. It's a lot of people end up in this space because they're born with a deficit or they were in the wrong place at the wrong time. And maybe they've never even had any sort of hardship in their life and they've never broken a bone. And now they're tossed into like their life is completely different. And I just remember seeing how sad and how some of them didn't want to work to go through those, like, how do you get dressed again? How do you eat? Like, how do you cook stuff again? They just didn't show up. You know, they were there, but they didn't show up mentally. Yep. And I really wanted to inspire hope in the fact that you can do something fun and you can go on dates and meet beautiful women and go to cool places and do amazing things and have these great memories. And that was the whole purpose of iAccess, was to kind of give people that that security back, that they were just like a normal person again. And it started off as like, let's rate and review places so people can know where to go and they can feel safe and secure in doing it. Cause I know it's definitely not dehumanizing, but it sucks when you had to go someplace and they had to like move all these chairs out of the way and you're bumping into stuff, or they had to like lift you upstairs or piggyback you. And that's like, now all of a sudden all the focus and attention is on you for no reason. You just want to be there and spend time with somebody or whatever it may be. So iAccess started just from that bare necessity. And what I wanted to do was build something that was cool enough and that we had enough of a community around and enough data that somebody like a Google or Yelp or a TripAdvisor would take notice of it and really take it around the world and do what they can do and work that magic. And that's kind of the plan. I want to build this thing. I want to keep incorporating some of the partnerships that we're doing. One of the first ones is going to be with a company called Passport, and they allow you to pay for your parking on your mobile phone. So we're going to add that into our application and hopefully start working with them to kind of monitor the handicap parking situation so that people that park in handicap spots that don't need to be there shouldn't be there, like we'll take care of that kind of thing. And then from there, hopefully you can book a reservation through OpenTable. You can book a flight through Orbitz. You can book a hotel through Marriott. You can go scuba diving or go to some accessible festival someplace or go mountain biking or whatever it may be and just live your life. And, hopefully that's when Google comes in. It's like, hey, we love what you guys are doing and let's pay you to do that. Like, take it and we'll take it globally. And for me, that's the goal, is just to keep building and keep showing people that this is fun and that you can do a lot of cool shit still. And I'm a living example of it. So,
listen, I'm a fan.
I'm trying to be the light.
I believe it. Your light is as bright as they come, brother. Keep shining it. Keep getting after it. Keep doing you. Keep growing and learning. And you got a fan for life here. So thanks so much for jumping on the show. He's the amazing, the mighty, the powerful Brandon Winfield. I'm Jesse T. Be sure to catch us on next week's episode of The Jesse T Show.